guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how I do my most full coverage, flawless looking foundation slash face base. This is definitely not something that I do on a day-to-day basis, but if I'm going out at night or just have something to go to that's a little bit more special and I want to look my best, this is everything that I do to achieve that look. If you haven't already, then please do take a second to subscribe to my channel by hitting that red subscribe button down below. I'm getting pretty close to 100 subscribers, which is so exciting, so if you could help me get there, that would be so appreciated. And don't forget to comment down below if there's any specific type of video that you would like me to film for you in the future. And now let's go ahead and get started on my full coverage foundation routine. Today I will be using the Makeup Forever Hydrating Primer. Makeup Forever does have a ton of different types of primers. I personally like to use this one because I feel like it kind of blends the steps together of using a moisturizer and a primer. This sort of does both. Next, to cover up my dark under eye circles and any red spots or blemishes on my face, I'm going to be using a concealer. I use a Clinique concealer in the shade 03 Moderately Fair. So for the longest time, definitely longer than I would like to admit, and by that I mean up until like a couple weeks ago, I would always use my fingers, at least to start off, to blend in my concealer. But recently I actually bought a brush to start putting setting powder underneath my eyes and to set my concealer, and I actually tried it out to blend out my concealer and it has been the most amazing thing ever. And so now I have a new favorite concealer brush and I feel like it makes such a big difference and makes it so much easier and faster to blend out my concealer. So this is the brush that I use now, and this is just a Real Techniques setting brush. I think it's made for powders, but I think it blends out my concealer beautifully. After that is when I go in with my foundation. One that I have really been reaching for all of the time recently is my Clinique Stay Matte Oil Free Foundation in the shade 09 Neutral. My skin definitely gets really oily in my T-zone, especially after I'm out and about for a few hours, so I really was looking for a foundation that was oil-free, and this one is specifically made, literally it's called Stay Matte Foundation, so this is the one that I have really been liking a lot recently. And even now that it's getting colder, it doesn't dry out my face. I think it just really helps keep it matte a little bit longer. So to put that on, I will be using a damp beauty blender. This one is a little bit dirty, as you can see. I'm really awful about washing my brushes. So I like to just kind of tap the foundation onto my face first and then blend it out. And I really just love how well my foundation blends out when I use the beauty blender. I also will say that it took me a little bit of time to really start to love putting on foundation with a beauty blender. I've used it to put on like an under eye highlight for a while, and I feel like when I first started using it with foundation, I just felt like it took a lot longer and I just couldn't really figure out how to make it work very well for me, but now it's absolutely my favorite thing to put on foundation with. Alright, so next I will be using a highlighter to just brighten up parts of my face. So I'm going to be taking my handy dandy MAC Prep and Prime pen in the shade Light Boost, and I'm just going to be putting it underneath my eyes, down the bridge of my nose, and a little bit on my forehead as well. And then I'm going to once again blend that out with my beauty blender. The next step is to set everything that I've done so far with a powder. You can use a translucent powder if you like, or you can use a pressed powder. And like I said, I get oily in my T-zone, so this step is extremely, extremely important for me specifically. Honestly, even if you don't have oily skin like at all, I would still recommend doing this step and not skipping it, because I just think it'll make your makeup last so much longer and look so much better. Today I'm going to be using my MAC Prep and Prime press powder. Next, I'm going to be moving on to my bronzer to bronze and contour a little bit. Besides the fact that I just like looking more tan, I think bronzing is a really important step that kind of just adds some dimension back into your face after you use that foundation that just sort of flattens it out. And I'm going to be using my NARS Laguna bronzer today. So first I'm going to be taking my bronzer to contour, and like always I'm going to be using this old brush that came with an old Chanel bronzer, but you can find any brush that is this sort of shape or just any brush that you like to use to contour. And I'm just going to be putting that underneath the hollows of my cheeks. Now I'm going to be taking a little bit more on that brush and putting that bronzer on the outside of both sides of my nose. Taking my bronzer brush from Real Techniques, I'm going to bronze around my face, starting with around my hairline, taking it a little bit over where I did the contour, and then bringing it down my jawline and a little bit down my neck. Next comes blush, and my current blush obsession is a Chanel blush in the shade Orchid Rose. It is beautiful. And I'm just going to be putting that on with my Real Techniques blush brush. I love this blush because it is light enough that you can really layer it up and not worry about looking like a clown right away and then having to redo your makeup. Now, the last step to my flawless foundation slash face base routine is, of course, the highlighter. And like always, I'm going to be putting on a cream highlight with a powder highlight on top. So I just put a little bit of what's up on my finger, and then I'm going to tap that on my cheekbones. Taking this fan brush, I'm going to be putting the Becca highlighter on top of the Benefit one. Can't have a flawless face without poppin' highlight. And then I also just pop a little bit on my Cupid's bow.